Welcome Joep van Lieshout, welcome at the exhibition Primitive Modern. Joep van Lieshout, ladies and gentlemen, is a sculptor, visionary, enfant terrible and entrepreneur. At the age of 16, he was accepted to the Royal Academy of the Arts at Rotterdam with projects that traveled between the world of design and the non-functional area of art. Sculptures, buildings, furnitures, utopias and dystopias are part of his world. In 1995, Van Lieshout founded his studio AVL, Atelier Van Lieshout, and the last 2 decades his work was tackling a lot of recurrent issues and themes and motives and obsessions, such as systems, power, autarky, life, sex, death. The human body is a motive that reoccurs frequently in the oeuvre of Joep van Lieshout. He once said that the body is a kind of divine architecture. Joep van Lieshout is renowned for creating large-scale freestanding structures such as dwellings, which we see also here in the exhibition, and the spectators are invited to interact with these interior spaces. Internal organs, you can call them, in which we encounter taboo and a wish of fulfillment. Today we are in like a turning point in your work, a kind of cross between 2 series of works. One is called New Tribal Labyrinth, and the other one is called Neofuturism. And you bring them together for the first time in this exhibition, Primitive Modern. Primitive Modern, what does that mean? What is that?
I think if you look back on all the work that I've been making in my career, you can very often say there is like a kind of juxtaposition between things that are very rational and things that are irrational. And you could also say this is also with primitivism and modernism, it's the same kind of contrast. And and to me it has to do with the kind of the 2 sides of the utopia, and utopia is something, also a theme that has been coming back all the time. Mm-hmm. And the 2 sides of the utopia is on one hand the longing, the romantic longing from the human to go back to the origin, to go back to the nature, to go back to the human as a kind of an animal, to go back to the family, to all these kind of things. On the other side of utopia is a kind of modernism or constructivism. The idea, if you keep on improving,
to keep control, to be efficient, to these kind of things, or
that the idea is that if you keep on ruling the world, changing the world, mastering the world by science, you will come to another utopia, the utopia of progression. Well, both parts, they are in a contrast, and they're both interesting, and likely they cannot be, maybe they can be combined.
Yeah, so creating this new utopian, but primitive modern is then a utopian for you. What is your definition of a dystopia then for you?
For me, there's always this very fine line between utopia and dystopia. Mm-hmm. And with Slave City is very clearly, it's a total green, self-supporting city with organic food. On the other hand, is the most sophisticated way of exploiting human beings. Yeah. The same with the New Tribal Labyrinth is a kind of a new utopia in which industry, agriculture, new rituals play an important role. On the other hand, that means also harsh works in factories, monotonous pollution. So there's always the utopia and the dystopia. They are very close together. They're always dancing with each other. They're always kissing each other. And And I think every utopia has a dystopic side, and every dystopian thing has a positive side.
Yeah.
With all extremisms.
You're continuously playing with these tensions, utopia, dystopian, rational, irrational. But on the other hand, I also feel that, and also in this exhibition, there is also a tension, and we are sitting on a part which also plays with definitions about art and design. They are part of that utopian or dystopian world, it's the way you want to see it, if I understand it well. What is that friction, or what is that longing for, on the one hand, making or producing design objects, and on the other hand, and producing also like non-functional objects, which you call art?
To me, right from the beginning when I started making sculpture when I was 16, 17, I never made this distinction. For me, an object could, functional object could be an artwork and the other way around. And so to me, I don't see it really as a kind of a design or architecture. I just see it as a way of expressing my ideas. And and it has, well, it has many possibilities with it, and also you can create a kind of independence of only the art world, which is very welcome for me, actually.
Yeah. So it's all these objects, in fact, are artifacts, play a role in that utopian, dystopian world that you're creating. They are all part of it, or
no,
no.
No, some are just very functional. Yeah.
Just autarky. You just mentioned also to be independent of that art world, but autarky itself is also kind of red thread throughout your work. I refer to a project I visited in, I think in around 2002, AVL-ville, Free State, kind of Free State in Rotterdam that you created. There, all these elements were also there, like power, autarky, life, sex, death, even weapons, and everything to organize life.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, in this period, it was in 2001, in the 5 years before that, I have been making many units, functional units. So I wanted to concentrate one function, let's say a hospital, or making alcohol, or having a hospital, or to create food in one unit. So really to make that very specific. So that meant that I made many containers and units, functional objects that could be used to have a self-supporting state. So that's why I just started it. I declared the Free State of AVL-ville, in which we didn't accept any rules or laws, and then we just started with Atelier van Lieshout building restaurants, houses, we made a flag and money, and we had an abortion clinic even. And so this was the kind of the logical result if you start making stuff that you can use. And it was also a kind of anarchist deed. It was also a kind of heroic attempt to change the society or to profit from the society.
But that was a real attempt, or I felt almost like a real attempt. That
to me, at that time, it totally was a real attempt. I mean, I was sure we are going to succeed with the Free State. We would be independent, we would grow. But now I can say it would have never been possible. But I mean, sometimes it's very good just to be blind and young and enthusiastic to do things.
So is that where these new worlds, these utopian worlds were formulated, or like the seeds were there, or trying to create kind of scenarios for a possible future?
No, after AVLville, I mean, we existed for about 1 year, and then it was closed because of by the police and fire and all kind of institutions. Then I really concentrated again on making artworks. Yeah. Then I got very interested in systems, and then into this kind of other utopias and dystopias like Slave City, the Technocrat, Tribal Labyrinth. So, but I mean, in a way, you could say another red thread throughout the work is using or creating systems or being involved in recycling in the most idiotic way.
Mm-hmm. Systems of society. We had a talk about the work in front of the Alte Nationale Gallery, where systems and power exactly are playing for you an important role. Continuously, you're playing with power as a power is seen as a government, the emperor, the traditional powers that are disappearing in society, what we experience today in Brussels and what is going on also shows a kind of shift of power. This intrigues you. How do you take that in account, or how is that part of your work?
Well, the piece in the Alte Nationale Gallery in Berlin, it's a jumping horse with someone on it with a kind of a club, and then he's jumping and killing a lot of people. So it's a kind of a revolutionary scene, like a heroic scene, like a little bit of this painting of Delacroix, where the woman with the French flag runs over the barricade with a lot of dead bodies. So and that became this revolutionary, this very violent scene became the national symbol of France. And so in that sense, I also wanted to create this kind of monument for the future. Like, you know, one time there will be a revolution of the people.
You believe that? Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Of the people, and that will make a new change. And so this was the monument for it. And what you see is that, you know, it comes from the individual, and it comes, the individual is on a horse, so probably there is no more energy, or there is maybe some other reason why you use a horse, because it's not depending on a computer, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
So, no, I think our society becomes very explosive, and what we see today, like the whole city of Brussels is closed off. And this will not be the revolution. The revolution will be something else. It will be a revolt against the digitalization of our society, I guess. Something. I don't know. Yeah. But at least the monument is already there.
Yeah. It will stay there for 2 years. In this explosive times, as you said. I'm interested in this new tribal labyrinth. Why and where does it differs from Neofuturism, which is also here present? And what was first new tribal labyrinth? What was that kind of series? What more than 40, 50 works, I believe, in that. What is it?
Okay, the new Tribal Labyrinth is a kind of a large project I've been working on for 4 years or something like that, which is about creating a new utopian society, a new society in which industrial production, agriculture and new rituals are important again. And what we see in our country is, in our world, is that production is done in those countries where it's the cheapest. And basically, industrial production disappears from our country. We are left here as technocrats, bureaucrats, designers, salespersons, lawyers, all this kind of stuff. And I think this is not a society, a real society, because a real society has all things necessary for life. So here we get like a kind of a lifestyle society. So my attempt is to
bring that back?
To bring this back and to research, like again, to reinvent the Industrial Revolution, and to see that to make our steel ourselves, our chemicals ourselves.
You tried that, eh?
I tried it, yeah. In a way that you come close again to the raw materials and the origin of design and production. So it's a very romantic idea actually to be able to say, look, this cup is made in our own factory. It took 1 week to produce it, and unfortunately someone lost his hand. But I mean, it's a very special cup. So it's a kind of a new way of appreciating our materials, appreciating the stuff that we do. And it's a kind of a command on hyper-fast turnover, hyper-short life cycles of products.
And to connect again with the production systems and the things that are really giving life also a meaning.
Yes, also I think, for example, before, let's say 50 years before, when you still had factories here and mines, I mean, there was not a nice work. But there was a social connection. There was like the people could be a tribe. You are all miners, and then you're all together, and you are a big family. So it's not only.
And they had their own rituals.
They had their own rituals, their own another social fabric.
Yeah.
So then again, but then the industry that I made, the blast furnace and so on. Very often they are propelled by muscle power, which basically means or there is no fuel anymore, or people are so involved, so in love with the production process that they really want to give their own muscle power, their own energy.
But there were also naphtha crackers in it?
Yeah.
So to crack down the fuel, I think then, or...
Yeah, you can also do it with wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it was not for the oil, it was for the wood.
Yeah, basically it was a chemical factory that you can use materials like coal or wood or oil to break that down in another chemical formula, and then you can make chemicals or medicines out of it.
Or plastics.
Or plastics, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Not directly from making electricity or producing electricity, but more from materials. Okay, I understand. Neofuturism then. Futurism we know as a approximately 100 years ago. Futurism was an important and also interesting direction in the arts. Today you introduced the term Neofuturism on your own, but I think you also will have soon a lot of followers in that field. But Neofuturism, what does it mean for you in these times of acceleration?
It's very new, so I'm not sure about the name. I mean, I just feel that I have an interest for this movement. I feel there is a similarity in the time at that time and our times. Actually, I don't want to use the word Neofuturism. I should think hard to use another word. But what's interesting to me about that movement, that it was also a movement in a time with a lot of changes. Like it is now, a time with a lot of changes.
Just before World War I?
Just before World War I. And those people were very much interested in speed, in change, technology. They were very interested in changing the past, breaking with the aristocracy, breaking with the church, breaking with the old power structures. And I think you can compare them a little bit with the constructivists in Russia, like a totally new, interested group. And they were also interested in, they work with architecture, music, theater, fashion, food, you know, that's like really very, very interesting group of people. But they make some mistakes. For example, they choose the wrong political party to be associated with. They choose to be, clearly choose to be for the Italian fascist. And they really were thinking of war as like a way to have changes being done.
Do you believe that? You're preaching revolution.
War can, war changes a lot, yeah. I don't say that we need a war, but I mean, a war changes and purifies, yes, unfortunately. And so they all went to war. A lot of them died in the trenches.
Yeah.
But and then, of course, but the fascists, especially Italian fascists, they were also like very innovative. They really wanted to change things, to get rid of all the old shit. So it was a real utopia, you could say, a real ideology to go forward to make a better world. So now we also live in a time which is really crucial in the development of the human being, which means that now the computer technology, digitalization, information gathering, robotization will happen in the next 10, 20 years, and that will be a difference you can't imagine. And I think, for example, what happened this week in France and Belgium, this will have big repercussions on the freedom of the people. I mean, I'm sure every phone will be tapped, every computer it will be tapped.
Will we start living in a kind of slave city world?
Well, I think, I'm not sure, I don't hope so, but for sure if they want to do it, then they have all the means.
Yeah.
They have the ultimate control of everyone. It's a very interesting time. Very interesting time. So now I play with it. I mean, I don't want a revolution, don't want a war, but
no. It's
maybe a little one.
Yeah, it's inspiring you. It's something you, just like other people, keeps you awake. And again, the work of art gives you a reason to make or to handle with these kind of topics. Or
yeah, I mean, my work deals with problematics of the society, the world around me, but I mean, it doesn't really give a solution. I mean, I'm not political in that sense that I really propose a solution. I just see, and I get distracted very quickly into a kind of a sculptural version of the world.
And then do you see your art or your pieces or your sculptures as tools for discussion or debate? Because you're acting as a kind of agent provocateur. That's, I said in the introduction, enfant terrible. This is a little bit also the role you want to play.
Yes.
Just to steer up and to wake up.
Well, I think one of the functions of art is, well, first of all, beauty.
Yeah.
And second of all, is to be a catalyst for thought and discussion.
Yeah.
But I mean, I never would like that the ideology takes over the form, the shape, the artwork. I mean, then I think it becomes an illustration.
Yeah. The images that the people probably received in their mailbox, the card of the invitation where a black Madonna was on, a super interesting and fascinating image that has a very important anecdote related to it. I think that anecdote interests me, and also presenting that then here in Brussels, but also refers to kind of ideology again. But
well, the sculpture you talk about is called the Black Madonna, and it's a sculpture of a kind of primitive expressionist sculpture of a woman that on one hand has the child, on the other hand has the axe. And it's interesting because it is fertility, it's about the mother and the child, it's like a very, how to say, eternal theme in human art. On the other hand, it's the axe, you know, like, you know, to protect life or to protect or to fight or to execute people. So it's like it has this two,
Again,
the beauty and, and the bad is inside. And the origin of the sculpture is a little sketch that I made in my notebook that I usually use when I go to see a museum, which is just like a few lines. But the museum I visited was the Museum of Tervuren, the Museum of Africa, which closed, I don't know, 2 years ago. And on the last day, I made this pilgrimage. And I said, no, I have to go to this museum before they're going to renovate it. And then after the renovation, probably, well, I don't know, maybe it becomes a museum for children or whatever. Yeah. And the Museum of Tervuren is really an amazing museum with a fantastic collection, but also the display was very old-fashioned and a little bit run down. And there was this sculpture, I don't know exactly how it looked like, of wood with a Madonna with a child, or a mother with a child and eggs. So many of the sculptures I make, they have examples in the art history. So, but yeah. So the Black Madonna is typically this kind of thing, the sculpture that is, on one hand, has the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And the ugly inside.
The good, the bad, and the ugly was also the name of other works that you did, or also the work that you did in the Ruhr Triennale. Is that's always there, the good, and the bad, and the ugly. That ambiguity you can also feel in the dwellings even. The dwellings where these pieces and these bodies of architecture, and we can step into it. It's a sculpture where you can step in, you can stay there, but it's an organ also. It's not just a piece of architecture. We are stepping into a body. It's a very it's closing off of the world. What is it? It's a cave. It is. What do you want to?
Well, the piece is called The Essential Dwelling, and refers, of course, to the first human dwelling that just found the cave and start living in the cave and could start cooking the food, and so it represents this kind of primitive. On the other hand, it represents the modern, like kind of a organic architecture from the 70s and 60s refers to modernism, because it's the ultimate form follows function, because the spaces are built around your body and the movement that you have to make. So it's a kind of
it's from the inside to the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and then, of course, it's also a sculpture that you can look at it from the outside, but also from the inside. So it brings as well this kind of the origin and the fancy and the future together.
And then I'm just sitting here in front of the complete opposite as the cave and the organic essential dwelling, the endless column. It is super hard, cold material, steel, galvanized steel. How can you combine that in your work, in your approaches, and so on?
You can combine it by just doing it, and that's the beauty of art. There is no rule. There's nobody who tells me what I can do or not can do. Yeah. But the way how I made it is like this stacking from the cubes on top of each other is something that came back in my drawings all the time. So at a certain moment I said, okay, let's make it. And then I took away the sides of these cubes, so you can see the inside, because I thought it was beautiful. And then I attached those pieces of rebar, like sticks of steel. One hand to make it strong again, because if you take away the sides it becomes very flexible. But more to also make this contrast between like the brutalist side of this very hard steel, these cubes, the welding, the galvanization, and then on the other hand, on the sides to see the inside. Like if you look inside a body or inside of a fruit or inside of a plant, where you see the sticks as kind of organic matter.
So it's again a body for you, or
Yeah,
referring to the body.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So the body is a kind of central theme in the desires of the body, the decay of the body, the dead sexual elements, the destructive power of the body.
Well, if you see it from a large distance, the only thing important for the human being on this world is the human being itself. So, I mean, it's the only question. I probably will never find an answer where we come from, where do we go to? I mean, what is the whole reason for the world or the universe to exist? And the human body keeps on interesting me, like, you know, or actually the human. So the body, but also what the human can do, how the human can change, shape, design, destroy, nurture, let the world grow.
Okay, thank you very much, Joep van Lieshout.
My pleasure.
Questions?
I start always my design thing as a drawing, and sometimes I keep on drawing the same thing for 2 years and then I make it, and sometimes I make a drawing and I make it next day. And then when I have this idea, I think about the material. So what's the best, the most beautiful way to make these pieces?
Okay, so the drawing comes before the material. Like you don't just
Yeah.
take the material and make it more.
No, if I make a sketch like this, I know it's going to be not made out of fiberglass or stone. Yeah. No, for me, because I make almost all the sculptures myself with my own hands, and I'm also a very handy person. So to me, there must be always a very direct link between the shape, the material, the tools, and the way how you fabricate it. So I could be very, for me, it would be very difficult to make something and say, well, make it in this material. No, for me, it is like a very integral part of the whole thing.
Okay.
It's like design.
Yeah,
say
I was
then.
just wondering if your
So
artist
that is maybe a kind of
What is like design?
trying to find the material that fits the shape and the form is, and the technique where that interrelation is to go for a very efficient use of the materials to transform the idea into the best material.
Yeah. Yeah, but for example, the Black Madonna, to make that in steel, it's impossible. Huh? You can make it out of stone, or there's acrylic resin, or wood could be possible. But I mean, every material has its
properties. So the drawing is there in the beginning, the idea is there, then the drawing is there, and then the object or the material, materialized idea is there. But on the way, you're drawing while you're making it, you're sculpting it. So it's not a...
Yeah, well, normally when I make the drawing or the sketch, normally I say, okay, let's make it, and I put it there, and then within 5 minutes I lost the drawing, and I start just making something else.
Yeah. The next step, will that be architecture then? And then I say, how can you function in the world of architecture? Because there, how the processes go, they are completely fixed, and the blueprint is the blueprint, and everybody who is involved in the process is like completely fixed, and that's not fitting with your way of working.
No, and I really believe, to me it's very important to be in very close contact with the artwork, with the material, with the actually making of the sculpture, and with architecture. Although nowadays with all the new technologies they can make amazing shapes and forms with all computer generated stuff. But there is a huge distance between the architect that makes a funny shape in the computer and the actually building of the building. And to me, for example, the dwelling is like something which is made like that, you know, and there's like blood, sweat and tears involved. And I don't like the shape because it's a little bit too small, too big, or the wrong size, the wrong shape, I just change it. So there's a real physical contact with with the object. And I think that's very important. And also the new Tribal Labyrinth is also about that to reinstate,
To reconnect
to
all the
reconnect
relations. Yeah.
the connection of the user and the producer and the material. It's very romantic.
Is there anything you haven't done yet that you really want to do?
What I really would like to realize is to be completely independent of everything, to be independent of the art world, to be independent of money and materials, and to build like a whole world, like a world with the industry, with all the farms, with all the cave dwellings, with the sculptures, with a temple, with a graveyard, with a hospital, like a real, let's put it like a Disneyland.
Recently, you also started your own foundation.
Well, I mean, Avi El Mundo, what you say is the world of Atelier van Lieshout, is an attempt to create this I don't like Disneyland, but I mean, let's say the world, this crazy Gesamtkunstwerk, it's an attempt to start it and to have the spaces, to find the people, to leave an amazing city, art city, to the world.
What is the difference between, because this show is now really announced as Joep van Lieshout, then you also have like Atelier van Lieshout. What is the difference for you? Is there a difference?
There is not really a difference. The reason for Atelier van Lieshout was I started it in '94, and I did it because of conceptual reasons. And at that time, the idea was that I really wanted to bring back my role as an artist, as a kind of a contractor. So I wanted to make furniture, bathrooms, kitchens for people in any possible shape, any possible color, and I would prefer if the customer would make the drawing. So in a way, it would have been the most minimal, the most conceptual art possible. Let's say, you know, I just screw everything together, put fiberglass on it, and you know, this is my artwork. Yeah. And then, coherent with this idea was, of course, to say, well, it's not the artist, it's the company, it's the Atelier van Lieshout.
The collaborators.
The collaborators.
Yeah.
And then that became the AVL Ville, the Free State, and this name stayed. I keep on using this name, although now you could say it's maybe less suitable for the work. So regularly I use the name Joep van Lieshout. I mean, especially with the works here. Yeah. It's not Atelier van Lieshout never has been a collective in the way that other people really come up with their own ideas and make their own artworks. Now it's all my ideas, my artworks, and of course you need other people to produce and organize stuff. And I think also, well, I like it both. I mean, I like to work with my people, which are very good, very professional, with a lot of fun. On the other hand, the last years, I'm very much in a kind of a blind, I said, like with the horses, they have that, like a very intuitive way of creating stuff, which I prefer to make things and then later define why you make it and what does it mean. So
who decides? You or the material?
Me, of course, me.
Fair enough. Thank you.